Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. And today we will talk about phospholipids. So first of all, what are phospholipids? Phospholipids or phosphoglycerides or glycerol phosphatide. Phosphoglycerides, also called glycerophosphatides, are loosely referred to as phospholipids or phosphatides, the second major class of complex lipid occurring in both plants and animals tissues, especially in the most active tissues of animal bodies such as brain and liver, and very small amounts are present elsewhere in the cells. Phospholipids, actually the compound lipids, they contain fatty acids, glycerol, which is an alcohol, a phosphoric acid residue, third component, and the fourth component is polar head group. So phospholipids are the compound lipids which contain phosphoric acid and a polar head group in addition to fatty acid and glycerol. The parent compound of this group is called phosphatidic acid. All the phospholipids are derived from phosphatidic acid. What is phosphatidic acid? Phosphatidic acid consists of one glycerol, two fatty acids, and a phosphoric acid. The carbon number 1 and carbon number 2 of the glycerol form ester linkage with the fatty acid, whereas the carbon number 3 of the glycerol form ester linkage with the phosphate group. यही बात लिखी है. And phosphatidic acid is formed by the esterification of the two fatty acid residue at carbon number 1 and 2 of the glycerol, and while carbon 3 of the glycerol has phosphate group. Phosphatidic acid, which is the parent compound of phospholipid, does not has the polar alcohol head group. It occurs only very small amount in the cell, but it is an important intermediate in the biosynthesis of phospholipids. So first of all, what is phosphatidic acid? How is phosphatidic acid formed? जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि phosphatidic acid consists of one glycerol. This red part is glycerol, which is a 3-carbon alcohol. Two fatty acids, one fatty acid. This is another fatty acid, and one phosphoric acid. Carbon number 1 and carbon number 2 of the glycerol form ester linkage with the fatty acid. This is fatty acid 1 and 2 attached with the carbon number 1 and 2 of the glycerol by ester linkage. Then carbon number 3 of the glycerol form ester linkage with the phosphoric acid. So this is phosphatidic acid. Phosphatidic acid, which is the parent compound of phospholipids, consists of one glycerol, two fatty acid, and 3 phosphoric acid. At carbon number 1 and 2 of the glycerol, there is a ester bond with the 2 fatty acid, whereas carbon number 3 of the glycerol form ester linkage with the phosphoric acid. Now, as I have told you that phospholipids are the derivatives of phosphatidic acid. In addition to phosphatidic acid, Phospholipids also contain polar head group. The polar head group, usually an alcohol designated as XOH, whose hydroxy group is esterified to the phosphoric acid. When polar head group, which is alcohol, which can be represented as HOX, the OH group of the polar head group form ester linkage here with the phosphoric acid of the phosphatidic acid. तो यहां तक हमने ये बात पढ़ी कि phospholipids are the compound lipids. In addition to glycerol and fatty acid, they also contain phosphate group. They are the derivatives of phosphatidic acid. Their parent compound is phosphatidic acid. And one phosphatidic acid contains one glycerol, two fatty acid, and one phosphoric acid. All the two fatty acids and phosphoric acid form ester linkage with the hydroxy group of the glycerol. At carbon number 1 and 2, there is an ester linkage with the fatty acid, and at carbon number 3, there is an ester linkage of glycerol with the phosphoric acid. Then, depending upon the nature of polar head group, there are different types of phospholipids. Important types of phospholipid on the basis of the type of the polar head group are: number 1, phosphatidyl ethanol amine, also called cephalin. Phosphatidyl ethanol amine. In phosphatidyl ethanol amine, the polar head group is an amino alcohol, ethanol amine. Ethanol amine, which is a polar head group, form ester linkage with the phosphoric acid or phosphatidic acid. You can see here, this is what phosphatidic acid. जैसे हमने पहले पढ़ा कि this part is from glycerol, these are two fatty acid, and this is phosphoric acid, blue one. This is phosphatidic acid. Then in phosphatidyl ethanol amine, this is ethanol amine, HOCH2CH2NH3. This is amino alcohol, ethanol amine. Its hydroxy group react with the hydroxy group of the phosphoric acid and form ester linkage like this. Now the resultant compound is phosphatidyl ethanol amine. So this is one of the type of the phospholipid, phosphatidyl ethanol amine. तो phosphatidyl ethanol amine में there is one glycerol, two fatty acids, acyl group from the fatty acid, phosphate residue, and ethanol amine. All the three components you link here react like this. As a result, phosphatidyl ethanol amine is formed. The second type of phospholipid is phosphatidyl choline, also called lecithin. In phosphatidyl choline, the polar head group is choline. Phosphatidyl choline has choline as a polar head group. You can see here again, this is phosphatidic acid. इसकी फॉर्मेशन हमने पहले डिस्कस की कि one glycerol, two fatty acid, and one phosphoric acid attached by ester linkage. Now, polar head group attach करना है. So on the basis of the nature of the polar head group, we have different type of phosphatidyl choline, phospholipids. One of the phospholipid we have discussed already is phosphatidyl ethanolamine. The second one is phosphatidyl choline. Here, polar head group alcohol is choline, HOCH2CH2N plus CH3 thrice. This is choline. The hydroxyl group of the choline react with the hydroxyl group of the phosphoric acid of phosphatidic acid and develop ester linkage like this. Now the resultant compound that comprises of one glycerol, two fatty acid, black one, this phosphate residue, and here the choline. All the four components now collectively called phosphatidyl choline, another type of phospholipids. The third type of phospholipid is phosphatidyl serine. In phosphatidyl serine, the hydroxyl group of the amino acid L-serine is esterified to the phosphoric acid of the phosphatidic acid. मतलब ये है कि phosphatidyl serine में phosphatidic acid के साथ L-serine amino acid एस्टरिफिकेशन करता है. यहां पोलर हेड ग्रुप जो है वो सीराइन है. जैसे हमने पहले पढ़ा कि अगर पोलर हेड ग्रुप जो है वो एथेनॉल अमाइन होगा तो ये फास्फोलिपिड होगा फास्फोटाइल एथेनॉल अमाइन. अगर पोलर हेड ग्रुप जो है वो कोलिन होगा तो ये होगा फास्फोटाइल कोलिन या लेसिथिन. और अगर पोलर हेड ग्रुप जो है वो सीराइन अमाइनो एसिड होगा तो दिस इज फास्फोटाइल सीराइन. We can look here again. This is phosphatidic acid. This part comes from the glycerol. These are two fatty acid, phosphate group. And now this is serine, an amino acid. HOCH2, CH, carboxyl group, and NH3, amino group. This is serine. The hydroxyl group of serine form ester linkage with the phosphoric acid of the phosphatidic acid like this. Now these the four components: glycerol, two fatty acid, one phosphate group, and serine, collectively called phosphatidyl serine, another type of phospholipids. Now the fourth type of phospholipid is phosphatidyl glycerol. In phosphatidyl glycerol, the polar head group is a molecule of glycerol. Phosphatidyl glycerol is often found in bacterial membrane. तो phosphatidyl glycerol में दो glycerol होंगे. One glycerol of phosphatidic acid and other glycerol is polar head group. We can see here again this is phosphatidic acid, और this one is glycerol. ये glycerol ही है, हमने सिर्फ लिखने का अंदाज बदला है. ये कार्बन नंबर 1 उसका हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप, दिस इज कार्बन नंबर 2 उसका हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप, ये कार्बन नंबर 3 उसका हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप. कार्बन नंबर ग्लिसरॉल की कार्बन नंबर 1 का हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप फॉर्म एस्टर लिंकेज with the phosphate group of the phosphatidic acid. So this compound that comprises of glycerol, two fatty acid and phosphate group, or at the same time there is another glycerol. This is phosphatidyl glycerol. The sixth type of phospholipid is diphosphatidyl glycerol. Diphosphatidyl glycerol. This is closely related to phosphatidyl glycerol. This is more complex lipid. It is also called cardiolipin. Diphosphatidyl glycerol is also called cardiolipin. In diphosphatidylcholine, choline, one molecule of phosphatidyl glycerol in which 3 hydroxyl group of the second glycerol is esterified to the phosphate group of a molecule ऑफ अ फास्फोटाइडिक एसिड। डाइफॉस्फेटिडाइल ग्लिसरॉल में क्या होता है? जो फास्फोटाइडिक ग्लिसरॉल हमने पिछला टाइप पढ़ा, वो एक और फास्फोटाइडिक एसिड के साथ एस्टेरिफिकेशन कर लेता है, यानी दो फास्फोटाइडिक एसिड के दरमियान एक ग्लिसरॉल होता है, दो फास्फोटाइडिक एसिड के दरमियान एक ग्लिसरॉल, या हम ये कहते हैं कि फास्फोटाइडिल ग्लिसरॉल form ester linkage. Phosphatidylglycerol form ester linkage with the phosphate group of another phosphatidic acid. आप देख सकते हैं, दिस इज, इतना पार्ट जो है, ये वाला हिस्सा, दिस इज फास्फोटाइडिलग्लिसरॉल, फास्फोटाइडिलग्लिसरॉल जिसमें ये फास्फोटाइडिक एसिड का ग्लिसरॉल, ये उसके दो फैटी एसिड्स और ये फास्फेट ग्रुप, और ये वाला हिस्सा जो है ये एक और ग्लिसरॉल अटैच हुआ है जो पिछले टॉपिक में हमने पढ़ा। अब दिस इज एन अदर फास्फोटाइडिक एसिड, ये वाला हिस्सा जो है ये एक और फास्फोटाइडिक एसिड है, ये उसका ग्लिसरॉल, ग्लिसरॉल की कार्बन नंबर 1, कार्बन नंबर 2 जिसके साथ फैटी एसिड एस्टर बॉन्ड बना रही है जैसे हमने पहले पढ़ा हुआ है, और ये उसकी कार्बन नंबर 3 जो फास्फेट ग्रुप के साथ एस्टर लिंकेज बना रही है। तो ये जो फास्फोरिक एसिड है दूसरे फास्फोटाइडिक एसिड का, वो फास्फोटाइडिल ग्लिसरॉल के साथ एस्टर लिंकेज बना रहा है। इसका ये हाइड्रोक्सी ग्रुप फास्फोटाइडिल ग्लिसरॉल के हाइड्रोक्सी ग्रुप के साथ रिएक्ट करके एस्टर लिंकेज बना रहा है। यूं एक फास्फोटाइडिक एसिड ये वाला हो गया, एक फास्फोटाइडिक एसिड ये वाला हो गया, और ये ग्लिसरॉल। अल्टीमेटली कहने वाली बात यह है कि इन डाइफॉस्फेटिडाइल ग्लिसरॉल, इन डाइफॉस्फेटिडाइल ग्लिसरॉल 3 hydroxy group of the second glycerol form ester bond with the phosphate group of another molecule of phosphatidic acid. Cardiolipin is abundantly present in the cell membrane of bacteria and in the inner membrane of mitochondria. तो डाइफॉस्फेटिडाइल ग्लिसरॉल में फास्फोटाइडिल ग्लिसरॉल, दिस इज फास्फोटाइडिल ग्लिसरॉल जो पिछला हमने ग्रुप पढ़ा, ग्लिसरॉल सेकंड ग्लिसरॉल ऑफ फास्फोटाइडिल ग्लिसरॉल form ester linkage with the phosphate group of an other phosphatidic acid. अपने हाथ से बच्चे आप बनाएंगे तो ये आपको बनेगा, ऐसे मुश्किल भी लगता है और ऐसे बनेगा भी नहीं। याद रखिएगा, हमें एक एक चीज को, एक एक स्टेप को अपने हाथ से ड्रॉ करना पड़ेगा तो फिर कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर होंगे। आपने ये पता होना चाहिए कि ग्लिसरॉल कैसे बनता है, फिर आपको ये पता होना चाहिए ग्लिसरॉल की कार्बन नंबर 1 और 2 के साथ किस तरह से फैटी एसिड जोड़ते हैं, फिर उसके साथ फास्फोरिक एसिड जोड़ना है, और फिर उसके साथ पोलर हाइड ग्रुप कैसे जोड़ने हैं। यूं स्टेप वाइज आगे चलेंगे तो सारी चीजें समझ आएंगी। The seventh type of phospholipid is plasmalogen. This is different from all other phosphoglyceride, all other phospholipids. ये दूसरों से मुख्तलिफ है। किस तरह से डिफरेंट है? इसमें one of the 2 hydrocarbon tail is contributed by long chain fatty acid esterified to carbon 2 of the glycerol. This is glycerol. ग्लिसरॉल की कार्बन नंबर 1, कार्बन नंबर 2। कार्बन नंबर 2 जो है, it form ester bond with the fatty acid, while कार्बन नंबर 1, ग्लिसरॉल की कार्बन नंबर 1 form ester bond with the ether alcohol. Ether alcohol, RCH double bond CHOH, ये उसके साथ एस्टरिफिकेशन करती है, और जो पोलर हेड ग्रुप है यहां फास्फोरिक एसिड के साथ अटैच, वो कोलिन ही होता है। तो आपने देखा कि प्लाज्मेलोजन जो है वो दूसरे तमाम फास्फोलिपिड से डिफरेंट है। वो किस तरह से डिफरेंट है? इसमें कार्बन नंबर 1 of the glycerol form ester linkage with the ether alcohol, not with the fatty acid, while carbon number 2 form ester bond with the fatty acid. Or as usual, carbon number 3 has ester linkage with the phosphoric acid, and phosphoric acid form ester bond with the choline. This is plasmalogen. Plasmalogen has one glycerol and ether alcohol, which form ester linkage with the carbon number 1 of the glycerol, and then a fatty acid which form ester linkage with the carbon number 2 of the glycerol. Then there is a phosphoric acid which form ester linkage with the carbon number 3 of the glycerol, and with the phosphoric acid there is attached choline by ester bond. This is plasmalogen, an ether lipid. एक केमिकल रिएक्शंस को भी डिस्कस कर लेते हैं जो फास्फोलिपिड्स के हैं. Phospholipids or phosphoglyceride can be hydrolyzed by specific enzymes called phospholipases. Phospholipases कई किस्म के हैं. Phospholipase A1 specifically remove the fatty acid from the carbon number 1, and phospholipase remove fatty acid from position 2. और जबकि फास्फोलाइपेस बी जो है ये मिक्सचर होता है फास्फोलाइपेस A1 और फास्फोलाइपेस A2 का. It catalyzes successive removal of 2 fatty acid of the phosphoglycerides, जबकि phospholipase 3 hydrolyzes the bond between phosphoric acid and glycerol, while the phospholipase D remove the polar head group to leave the phosphoric acid. यहां आपको यह बताया गया कि फास्फोलिपिड्स की हाइड्रोलिसिस कैसे होती है. फास्फोलिपिड्स की हाइड्रोलिसिस होती है बाय फास्फोलाइपेस एंजाइम. देयर इज अ ग्रुप ऑफ फास्फोलाइपेस एंजाइम. Phospholipase A1 remove fatty acid from the carbon 1 of the glycerol. Then phospholipase A2 remove fatty acid from the carbon number 2 of the glycerol. Then phospholipase C hydrolyze the bond, hydrolyze या remove phosphoric acid from the glycerol. जबकि phospholipase D जो है it remove polar head group from the phosphatidic acid. तो चारों के चारों कंपोनेंट्स को सेपरेट करने के लिए there is a different phospholipase. Phospholipids आमतौर पर मेम्ब्रेन का कंपोनेंट्स होते हैं, स्ट्रक्चर रोल प्ले करते हैं. This is all about phospholipids. Thank you very much.